Hey y'all, so today I'm going to be doing another Top of My TBR video. Top of My TBR is a series that I have created on my channel where essentially I just talk about the books that are currently most interesting to me. This isn't necessarily my TBR for the upcoming months, but rather just the books that are coming to the forefront of my mind, the ones that I am most intrigued by, and the ones that right now I most want to get to soon. And I'm in kind of an interesting reading mood right now. Because it's still October, I'm still in that like creepy, dark horror reads mood, but I'm also kind of transitioning into a like YA high fantasy mood. So the two of them are kind of like battling against each other right now. I think just right now, the one main overarching thing that I'm in the mood for is not something super lighthearted and cute. So more darker, more contemplative, and sometimes creepy, sometimes just high fantasy. But there's also some dystopia and some urban fantasy on this list too, so basically just not anything that's too light or too cutesy. As always, I'm going to start out the list with the books that I own and then move into the books that I do not own. First up is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. The sequel to this book just recently came out, and it's the conclusion to the duology, so a lot of people have been talking about it on BookTube, and it's kind of given me a resurgence of interest in the book. I did read the first chapter for the Try a Chapter tag about a month ago, and it was really interesting, and since I am kind of getting into that YA high fantasy mood, this is definitely pretty high up there in terms of books that I want to get to soon. Next up is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. I, like many people, first was interested in this book because of how much Katie Tastic loves it, and I actually got about like 90 to 100 pages into this last year during the BookTubeathon before setting it down for some smaller books. And like I said, I kind of am in that like darker YA fantasy mood, so this right now is really calling my name. Next up is Falling Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes. This is one that I keep mentioning that I need to read, similar to Throne of Glass, which is not on this list for once, and that's mostly because I'm kind of more interested in this series right now. This is one that I've been meaning to get to for a while, and since I am in that YA high fantasy mood, I'm hoping that I'm gonna get to this soon. I keep saying that, but it keeps not happening. Next up is Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. Honestly, I'm not sure why I haven't read this yet, because as of right now, if I could, I would just pick this up and start reading it because I love Cassandra Clare and I can't believe that I haven't started the series yet. However, I've also heard that it is probably better to read the like Shadowhunter Academy novellas before reading this, and that'll get mentioned later on in this list, but I want to wait until I can buy the physical copy to read those, so I'm waiting for this one. But once I read the Shadowhunter Academy novellas in the full book form, I will probably be getting to this one very soon thereafter. The next book on this list is one that totally does not fit with the last few books, but does fit with my like dark and contemplative mood, and that is A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. This is one that I was supposed to read for a class back in my sophomore year of undergrad, and I just never got to it because it was a book that I actually wanted to read, but I didn't want to rush it like I would have to for class. So I just rewatched the movie because I've seen it a few times, and that got me through the class. That being said, please make sure that you do your assigned school readings. Don't follow my terrible example. But yeah, for some reason, I just saw this on my shelf the other day, and I was like, I kind of really want to pick that up. And I don't know why, I just kind of got struck with that suddenly, but yeah, this is one that's really intriguing me right now, and that I might pick up in the near future. Next up, and the last one on the list that I own, is The First 15 Lives of Harry August by Claire North. This one honestly has been kind of up high on my TBR for like almost a year because it's one that's really intrigued me, and it kind of fits the mood that I'm in right now, so maybe I will get to this one in the near future as well. Okay, so now moving into the books that I do not own. Normally I would start with like upcoming releases, but I only think I have like one on this list, so I'm just gonna go ahead and start with the books that I actually have out from the library. And I did just recently film a library book haul. I'm not sure if that'll be up by the time that I post this, but if it is, I will link it up in the cards. So the first book out of these is actually one that I've already started, so I'll probably have finished it by the time this video goes up, but I digress. That is The Forgetting by Sharon Cameron. Katie Tastic talked about this on her channel recently, and the premise really grabbed me because it's a dystopian where every 12 years the forgetting happens and everyone forgets everything about themselves and they only remember what they've written down in these journals, but our main character has never forgotten. Even when the forgetting happens, she retains her memories. And that premise just really intrigued me, so I picked it up from the library and I started it last night, and so far it's really intriguing. And yeah, this is one that I am definitely going to be reading very rapidly. And then another library book that I have out right now is The Shining by Stephen King. Technically, I do own a copy of this, but it's at my parents' house, so I checked this out from the library. I've actually read the majority of this book, but I set it down and never picked it back up. So since I am in this dark, creepy mood, I'm hoping to pick this up and actually finish it this time. Next on the list, I have the rest of the Monster manga series. I have currently read 5 volumes and I have 6 through 18 checked out from the library, so hopefully I will continue the series because it's really intriguing and really interesting and I'm enjoying it so far. Next up on the list, and possibly one of the most intriguing to me right now, is 3 Dark Crowns by Kendar Blake. The premise of this one is really interesting. Essentially, there are 3 sisters, each of which have magical abilities, and they're all heir to the throne, but only one can win, and they have to kind of battle each other, and it just sounds really intriguing. So yeah, I hope that it's at my library, or else I'll just buy a physical copy, because this is definitely one that is really intriguing to me right now. And it also kind of fits that like dark high fantasy mood that I'm in. Next up on the list is A Shadow Bright and Burning by Jessica Cluess. Not even gonna lie to you, I right now cannot think of the premise of this book, but I remember that I've read it twice, each time forgetting the premise of the book, and both times it sounded really, really interesting. Okay, no wonder it sounds interesting, because it deals with a sorceress in London in kind of like a magical training slash magical school setting, and there's some sort of like hidden traitor. Like literally all these things are buzzwords for me, so no wonder it sounds intriguing. I can't believe I keep forgetting this premise. But yeah, this is one that is kind of up there with 3 Dark Crowns and The Forgetting, which I'm currently reading, so expect to see those very soon as long as I stay in this like dark mood. Next up is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. So the way I have heard this book described is a literary fiction with some sci-fi elements. Essentially, it sounds like a kind of contemplative character study set on a spaceship, and while typically I would prefer something that is more like actual sci-fi based, this actually is a really intriguing concept to me, especially when I'm in this kind of more contemplative mood, so I am really hoping to pick it up soon. My library has an audiobook version that I can download to my phone, so I might end up doing that. Next up is the Pottermore Presents series by J.K. Rowling. Essentially, these appear to just be ebook publications of her short little writings on Pottermore, and I'm really interested in this because I find this to be a much more accessible medium for me than reading it on Pottermore. I feel like it feels more like a book or like an actual part of the series versus just little articles on her website. Because for some reason I haven't really felt that compelled to check out the readings on the website, but now that they are in actual ebook form, they're something that I do want to check out for sure. Next up on the list is the aforementioned Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy by Cassandra Clare and a few other authors. These, from what I understand, are novellas that take place after the Mortal Instruments series, and I'm not going to go into detail because I feel like they could be spoilery if I explained what they were about, but like I said, they appear to be suggested reading before reading Lady Midnight, so I will go ahead and read them despite not being a huge novella person. And then finally, the last book on this list is The Affinities by Robert Charles Wilson. Once again, fitting in with the kind of contemplative mood. This is a novel that is kind of literary fiction and kind of like utopian, which would be kind of sci-fi, but essentially in this world you can test into an affinity group, kind of like the Myers-Briggs type, and you live among these people who basically think the same way as you do. And while I've heard fairly mixed reviews about it, the concept is really intriguing, and it's one of those ones that I am interested to pick up for myself and see what my own personal opinions are. This one's been floating around kind of at the edge of my radar for quite a while, and it's only recently that it's been really intriguing me. So that is it for this top of my TBR video. I had a pretty sizable span of time where I wasn't doing any reading at all, and now that I'm back into the swing of things, there are like 20 billion books that I really want to get to, so who knows how many of these I will actually get to, but my track record with these isn't amazingly good, so I don't know, we'll see. As I've mentioned in several recent videos, I have a new blog called Specialis Revelio where I am doing a chapter by chapter analysis of the Harry Potter series. This is a really exciting project for me. I'm really loving going through it, and I'm only a few posts in, so I would really love if you guys would check it out. As always, I will leave links down in the description to my blog, Twitter, Goodreads, and the new Specialis Revelio blog. Please add me as a friend on Goodreads. I would love to be friends with all of you. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!